Back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us this morning, talking about the future of DACA and what happens with the Dreamers. Yesterday we had folks who objected to the president's decision to rescind that plan and program. And with us, the other side of the coin this morning, Steve Gill, Republican strategist. Good to have you on. Thanks. Always a pleasure. We've got some calls for you. Why don't we take a few of those and we'll continue our conversation. Let's go to Karen. Karen, good morning.
Good morning. How are you all?
Good. Karen.
Good. Now, I want to make a statement, and I hope that I can get it all out.
Okay, we'll give you a shot.
Okay, I think, and I know, as an African-American person, that the problem in America is one of hypocrisy. Now, this country was built upon forced, enslaved labor of African people whom the power structure here, Caucasians, who came to this country illegally themselves and stole it from the Indians, forced blacks into labor, never paid us, still owes us for what we did. And they still oppress black people even today. So now they have the audacity to try to dictate who comes and goes in this country when they're here illegally. This country is an illegal property. It's an illegal occupation. This country is the land of the Indians. So I think we need to deal with that hypocrisy, because if we don't, we're going to continue to spiral in a downward motion as we're doing now into oblivion.
All right, Steve, any thoughts?
I mean, I think it's pretty ridiculous, frankly. But you know, the bottom line is, which Indians are you talking about? Because the idea that people have not taken land or taken property from others historically is frankly ridiculous. Do you know that the Apache dominated Texas until they were moved out by the Comanche? I mean, we think of the Apache as some of the most fierce warriors, but they got run out of Texas by the Comanche. So, which Indians are you talking about that were there first, who didn't take it from the ones who were there before them? And I would point out that nobody's enslaved.
Peoples, though,
but
right?
Nobody's enslaved. I mean, complaining that I ought to get paid for what happened, a couple of generations ago. I didn't own anybody. You weren't owned by anybody. I think you kind of got to move on. And people, we have had people who've come here legally through Ellis Island. You might want to go do some study on that. We've had immigration policies, and at one point when this country was a vast empty wasteland, you had people that could come here. We could fill the spaces. Now that it is a settled, economically stable country, you ought to be able to put restrictions. I doubt that the caller or you or most people who are watching leave their doors unlocked at night, because if you have a home, you lock your doors so that only the people you invite come in. If somebody comes in illegally, you call the police, they're arrested, and they're taken out. The fact that they illegally break into your home doesn't mean that you then have to pay their health care. You've got to pay for them. You've got to let them stay, eat out of your refrigerator. If somebody breaks into your home illegally or into your country illegally, it should have consequences.
Let's go to Brian. Brian, good morning.
Good morning, Karen. That's racist. That's ridiculous, man. Look, I'm French-Irish. The Irish have been abused for a long, long time. And my French part, I'm part Algerian. So I'm part crazy African Arab too. So that's just bull. Let me tell you something, Karen. The blacks in America have the highest standard of living of any blacks in the world. And if they hadn't come over here, willingly or unwillingly, they'd still be over in Africa. I mean, I'm not going to say mud huts, but even in Nigeria, the place, they just can't keep it going.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, Brian.
I think
that's bull, and you know it. Okay,
I think they were brought here. Element
yes.
To this.
Okay, and Brian. I don't want to hear it.
I'd point out that the other racial element that we ought to talk about is the DACA defenders are now filing a lawsuit. You've had some of the attorney generals from some of the blue Democrat states, Democrats catering again to their base. And again, part of the problem in this, Nick, is that you've got Republican hardliners and Democrat hardliners who are just playing to their base. Nobody's trying to figure out what's the good solution for America. What's the good policy for us? Secure our borders, protect these people that are coming in and working so that they don't have to work essentially as slave labor, underemployed, underpaid, because corporate America can hire these people for lower wages because they can't complain because they're here illegally. So let's deal with the fact that we've got both teams that aren't playing in the middle. And yet you've got these Democrat attorney generals who are claiming that this whole policy is racist because if you deport the Dreamers, which there's no discussion of doing that in immediately. If you deport them, 80% of them are Mexican, so it's a racist policy. You know, the bottom line is that Mexicans are not any more likely to break the law or to be engaged in illegal activity than any other country or nationality. It is a matter of proximity. If China was on our border, we'd have a huge Chinese illegal immigrant problem. The reason we have Mexican illegal immigrant problem is because you just have to walk across the street to come into the country. It is proximity, not a matter of race, that is dictating this thing. And frankly, I think a lot of Americans are upset that everything gets played as a race card issue rather than looking at the policy. The fact that 80% of the Dreamers are Mexican is not why people want to deal with the issue. It's because they're here illegally, and the rule of law ought to matter. If somebody, again, if people break into your house, and 2 out of the 3 guys are black, calling the police and getting them kicked out doesn't mean you're a racist.
Right. Okay. That's right. I got you. But in terms of breaking into someone's home, that's, you know, it's different. I mean, these folks who are here and undocumented, it's not a criminal offense, is it?
They're undocumented. You make it sound like they just left their wallet at home.
It's a civil offense, though, isn't it? It's not a criminal offense.
Yeah, we have made it a civil offense, but working here is illegal, and that's a crime. Using identity fraud, because if you're using a social security number,
you start getting the
all
fraud.
the things they do to stay here and work here illegally and to get housing illegally, all of those are illegal activities. So the entry is, I mean, again, it may be a civil offense, but I suggest that the next time you come back into the airport from another country, just dash through the customs area without stopping and see what happens to you.
Yeah. All right, I got you. Point taken. Let's go to Cindy. Cindy, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hey, Cindy.
Well, I'm with the gentleman that you have on because I believe that we need, and I stand firmly with Trump. I want the DACA to end. I want it gone. I want it gone, just like what he promised. So the other thing that I'm saying is the reason is, you know, my son's in college, and it's costing me an arm and a leg. I tried to get some health insurance with the state, and you know what? They sent me a letter. If I was an illegal, I could have it, but I can't have it. You know, so I got sick. So you tell me, when I got to scratch up money, me and my families, to put my son through college, and they get it for free. They got one kid got $20,000.
Well, now, I don't know. I mean, the programs, and a lot of people like her just, you know, have hardship, and it's convenient sometimes with good reason, sometimes not so much, just to blame others for your headaches.
I do think that Americans...
I'd like to see that letter she's talking about.
I think Americans are frustrated with the fact that they do feel like they're being put at the back of the line for people who are illegally here. And in Tennessee, we've had two attempts to put a tuition for illegals, in-state tuition for illegals, through the legislature. It has failed barely both times. But what that would do is say that if you are here in this country illegally, we're going to subsidize your tuition. Taxpayers are going to help pay your tuition, while American citizens are paying the full ride, and that is just wrong to most Americans.
As it stands in Tennessee, though, now, if you're here like that, are they paying out-of-state tuition?
They're paying out-of-state tuition.
It is out-of-state.
But if I'm an American citizen in Georgia, and my son or daughter wants to go to the University of Tennessee, why should my son or daughter, an American citizen who is legal, be punished with paying 2 or 3 times the tuition, while somebody who is in this country illegally, breaking the laws of our country, is going to have Tennessee taxpayers subsidize their college education?
Let's go to Taylor. Taylor, good morning. Hi, Taylor.
Hey, Nick.
Good morning.
And Steve. I'm going to try not to go off the rails as much as the previous callers have, but I have a lot to say on this subject, but I'll try to keep it shorter. DACA was created in such a crazy way. They talk about it being an executive memorandum and all that. It was nothing more than a 2 or 3 page memo sent to Homeland Security telling them what to do and not to do on these 800,000 plus. So it has the least amount of law and that sort of consideration than virtually anything I have seen come down the pike in a long time. So I think Trump was right to pressure the legislature to do something about it, and he's already kind of reneged that if they don't do it, he probably will do something different than what he's spoken thus far. But my main point is on immigration as a whole. From all countries, it is so diluted with one exception after another, and all of them are ignored and granted many more visas than the law indicates there should be. No checking on legal visas that people have. If they come for a 2-week vacation and stay 6 years, that's okay too. And so this rule of law thing becomes a total hypocrisy when it comes to all of our immigration laws, and so it needs a lot of fixing, but this is just one. And your two guests yesterday, they were just totally open border. Anybody comes, no problem, and they get all the rights and so forth that everybody else does. So it is a total mess, and one that both parties have ignored for too many years. And it's a swamp, and I don't know what they'll ever get fixed.
Drained.
It's drained, and if it's something they can address. Listen, we got to take a break on that note. If you want to comment on that, we've got more lines open, and if you're on hold, stay there. As you said, a lot of people, strong opinions, and Steve's got some thoughts on it, and I'm glad he mentioned it. As yesterday, we did have folks on the other side of it. Don't say that we're not fair, and we do try to get both sides of the issue on and have them on for a whole show on their own. So Steve's here talking on the other side. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more of you right after this.
This is